We are back this week with another episode. We are now on episode 10 of Banter from the Bench podcast. Y'all, we got some fun topics to talk about today. We're going to dive into the MLB draft recap, how the White Sox are just super consistent with their picks every year. We'll talk about All-Star Week festivities, the crazy events that happened at Copa America, and we'll dive into some Summer League talk too. So get ready. We've got a whole bunch to pack in, so let's roll.
Sound straight.
Alrighty, thank you all for tuning in. Those of you that have made it through all 10 episodes, we can't thank you enough. And those who haven't and are just picking up, or those who are listening for the first time, welcome. Hard to believe it's been 10 episodes already. Feels like feels like we just started doing this yesterday. I don't know about you, but yeah, that's how I feel, at least.
And we haven't gotten any better.
No. Also, I think we need to touch on this before we get going here. We did not plan our outfits today. We did not talk about it, but we are both representing Caleb Williams, probably both for a reason that we'll get into later. But for those who are new, for those who are existing, or for those who forgot, we're going to start off with some national topics here, and then we'll get into the Chicago talk later on. Lots of fun stuff here, and probably the biggest event that, or part of events that happened since we last recorded, was the MLB draft. And we'll get into the White Sox portion of that later on. But if you're a White Sox fan, that is your World Series. So I know I was excited for it, but looking at it from a more national perspective here, one thing that I noticed with the MLB draft this year is in the first round, the first 8 picks were all college guys. And to further go into that, 13 of the first 15 picks were college guys. So one thing that comes to my mind with that is I think college game is improving, and MLB teams like the way some of these guys are developing while they're at college. What were your thoughts on just seeing the big wave of college guys early on?
I thought so too, and I think as the sport of college baseball continues to grow, I think we'll continue to see this trend. And, if we're being fair, there is a good deal amount of risk involved with taking a kid out of high school. But I think with the popularity of college baseball lately, the last couple seasons, it's been easy for these teams to just pick off college players. And, I mean, they get a lot of growth and development in the college game too. So it's something that I noticed as well. But I think that this is something that will continue in the future.
Yeah, a lot of these big time college programs too, or especially with NIL and stuff like that now, are really ran like professional organizations, and they have access to a lot of the same technology and a lot of the same facilities like exercise equipment, training equipment, all that good stuff. So we've kind of started to see an increase in the stock of college guys over the year. Obviously, there's always your handful of college prospects who stick themselves out a little bit more than some of those high school guys going into the draft. But at least this year, and I agree with you, I foresee that kind of being more of a trend, that college is going to be more and more prominent with some of these teams that are drafted high up. And that kind of leads us into talking about the MLB draft. It's 20 rounds deep. We're not going to sit here and go through 20 rounds. It just gets to a point where you don't even know who guys are, or, and the MLB draft is really strategic. For those who might not know, it's a lot different than other drafts where each team has a pool amount that they can spend throughout the whole draft. So whether that's 14 million or 7 million or 10 million, you could theoretically, that's the money you have to spend. Theoretically, you could give your first pick $14 million, and you can take people that won't sign, or whatever the case may be, and that could be that would be a horrible strategy, because I don't know why anyone would do that. But to just give you guys a perspective, that's how it works. There's a lot of money involved, a lot of factors involved. Teams might, take a guy that maybe isn't the best player at their position or at that pick, just so they can push a guy to the later rounds and pay up a little bit more for him. Each draft spot has a suggested allotted amount that the player should be getting. Teams don't have to abide by that. It is just an amount. So for better or for worse, you can go over that suggested amount. You can go under that suggested amount. So kind of MLB Draft 101 for those who might not be super familiar with it. I know it's long and drawn out, and unless you're a big baseball diehard, you probably don't even really know what it is. So, if you did anything today, I hope you learned something from me.
It's way more of a financial game than any other sport, right? Like Sean said, with each draft pick having an allotted amount associated with it. So like this year's, the pick value for number one overall was $10.57 million. So certain teams will overslot and pay certain guys more so that they can draft them, or underslot other guys so they can save money elsewhere, or maybe they already spent that money on another player. So financially, there's definitely a lot more strategy than other sports. But Sean, do you want to dive into some of the picks that you liked from this year's draft?
Yeah. And one thing I want to add too, just kind of going off the MLB draft thing, is especially for teams picking up at the top, a lot of times they already agree to terms with these players before the draft starts. So there's a lot of movement, or a lot of, hey, I know where I'm going type of situations before the draft even begins. And teams will also try to, as the draft goes on, maybe strike a deal with a guy who's a projected first rounder, but once they want to push him to the second round, they say, hey, we can pay you, $750,000 more than you would get if you were taken here. If you want to agree to that, we'll take you. Don't go with anyone else or turn teams away. That stuff will happen too. But enough of this explanation. I'm sure we're probably boring the crap out of you guys. So MLB drafts. The Cleveland Guardians had the first pick. They took Travis Bazzana from Oregon State. Now, Cleveland is a team that is more strategic in terms of how they want to spend their money. So a lot of people who follow baseball and write about the draft figured that Bazzana was the best player in the draft, was the guy to go number one. With Cleveland having that pick, people thought maybe they would take someone that they could give a little less money to and better use their resources throughout the draft, instead of giving that full value at number one that Bazzana would command. They ended up taking him, so they didn't overthink it, which was kind of interesting and kind of cool. So good to see Cleveland do that. And then other picks I liked, I thought the Rockies made it out pretty well, being able to get Charlie Condon third overall. He's the Golden Spikes Award winner. That is the best, basically the Heisman of college baseball, from the University of Georgia. Plays first base, I think a little bit of third. I could be wrong about third, and outfield. Colorado announced him as an outfielder, so that kind of gives you an idea of what their plans are with him. But I think being able to get the awarded best college baseball bat at the third pick, that's pretty good deal for them. More picks that I liked. If you listen to some of our last episodes, we mentioned Connor Griffin as an option for the White Sox. Spoiler alert, they did not take him. The Pirates got Connor Griffin 9th overall. He's viewed by many as the highest ceiling high school player in this draft class. And I think if you're able to get that at 9, that's pretty impressive. Pittsburgh has placed kind of a premium on up the middle players over the last few years, and it's worked out pretty well for them. So they're adding another one to the mix here. Griffin's also a guy that could play center field or any outfield position, really. So getting a guy with some flexibility and a high ceiling, I like that for Pittsburgh and their development. With bats, there's been some guys that I've liked coming through that lately. Obviously some that still need work, but adding Connor Griffin to that mix and getting their hands on him, that'll be exciting for them. Another pick I liked a lot was Braden Montgomery to the Red Sox with the 12th pick. He's an outfielder from Texas A&M. Interesting situation with him. He broke his ankle in, I believe it was either regionals or super regionals. I can't remember which one. And that probably hurt his stock a little bit. Now he'll make a full recovery, and everybody knew that, but you're looking at a guy that was projected top 4 or 5 before the injury. And I think the Red Sox being able to cash in on that situation and get him at 12 was a really, really good value for them. And I think he's going to be a pretty good MLB player. So he should be able to move through that system fairly quickly. And then the last first round pick that I liked was Vance Honeycutt going to the Orioles at 22nd. Vance Honeycutt is an outfielder from North Carolina. He is a five-tool player who was once viewed to potentially be the number one pick in this draft. A lot of scouts don't like his strikeout rate. He strikes out a lot, but there are a lot of tools there that scouts do like. And I think Baltimore getting him in their prospect development system is a team that could make the most of his tools and development and really get a lot out of him. And for them to be able to get a player like that at 22, I think it was a no-brainer for them when they were on the clock and he was there. And I think he couldn't be going to a better situation to develop. And now I would kind of anticipate him being as good as people expected him to be just because of the situation he's going into.
Yeah, he could have gone 10 picks earlier, in all honesty. I actually had completely different names here. And this is a lot of times me and Sean don't go back and forth about what we're going to talk about here. We just kind of just let it fly. Some picks that I liked, I think the obvious one right off the bat, just purely based on value, Jack Caglione going to Kansas City. That one stings. We're going to have to face this guy year after year, series after series as White Sox fans.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah, the very next pick, I also really like J.J. Weatherholt going to the St. Louis Cardinals. They've got a great history of developing players. I think that they got a great value with him going or dropping to 7 overall. So I really liked that pick. One pick that I personally don't think got enough coverage was Cam Caminiti going to the Atlanta Braves. Look, they are a pitching factory. They know how to develop pitchers. He's arguably one of the best high school pitchers in this entire draft. He dropped all the way to 24. I think his ERA over the course of his year last year was like 0.93, just absolutely ridiculous numbers. So for the Braves to be able to get him at number 24 overall, that was great value. And then I really liked what the Blue Jays did at number 20 overall, getting Trey Savage, the pitcher from ECU. He obviously got a lot of hype. If you actually watch the draft himself or yourself, he got a lot of hype himself from the coverage that they were covering with just looking at his tools, his mechanics, his numbers. Rightfully so, he got a lot of hype during draft coverage. So that was the last one for me. Diamondbacks get another Slade. Apparently that's just their thing. Last year they got a Slade from Miami. This year they get Slade Caldwell. High school guy out of Arkansas. So, yeah, as far as overall picks, I mean, we can keep going because there's a billion draft picks in the MLB draft. But if we just look at 4 or 5 picks that we really liked, I would say those are mine.
Yeah, I really didn't see too many teams where they made a pick and I was like, I don't really understand that. Oh, actually, we'll get into that later. But
too many other teams other than our own.
Besides that, yeah, to kind of touch on what you brought up with Caglione and the Royals, if people haven't caught on by now, I'm a Florida Gators fan. So having the opportunity to take him only for a division rival to take him a one pick later, just absolute nightmare scenario for me personally, but exciting for them with the core and stuff that they have. But yeah, overall, I thought a lot of teams did good. I mean, they had an agenda and knew what they were going to try and plan on doing heading into the draft. And, I think a lot of teams did pretty well, but it's obviously TBD. MLB's a little different in the sense that you might not know how these guys look until 3, 4, sometimes even 5 years down the road. It's a tough sport. It's tough to make it to the MLB, and it's once you get there, you got to still develop and adjust to the big league game. So time will tell.
Garrett Crochet, man, it took him just up until this point, and I think he was drafted 4 years ago. But to stick with baseball, talk a little bit more about All-Star Week festivities. Home Run Derby happened. We can dive into what we thought about this version of the Home Run Derby. For those of you who didn't watch, Teoscar Hernandez, my boy, defeated Bobby Witt Jr. in the Home Run Derby. He is the first Dodger to ever win the Derby, surprisingly, with as much money as they spend. But What did you think on this new format of the home run derby?
I thought it was interesting. Interesting in the sense that they tried something different. I really didn't like it though. I thought it was, I thought you were pretty spot on with your assessment last time we talked about how they were trying to maybe save some energy for these guys later on. It really didn't work. And the whole pitch count thing was really frustrating for me as a spectator, because you can't really control how good or bad your pitcher is going to be. Obviously, you guys practice together and stuff, but when you get on the stage and whatnot, you bounce a few in the dirt, you throw some that are a little high or outside or inside, wherever. I don't think the hitter should be faulted for that. And it just seemed like a lot of these guys were pressing more than they normally would in a home run derby. I mean, besides Adolis Garcia, who I don't know if anyone told him he didn't have to swing, but he was just cruising along and hitting some bombs. But I don't think he took one swing off, which was funny, especially because he was a hometown guy. But good for them for trying something new. I don't think it. I think it was worse than what they had before, and I really didn't even like what they had before. I wish they would just go back to the whole 10 outs thing. You either hit a home run or it's an out, and that's it. I think that's a real true testament to a home run derby here. What were your thoughts on it?
Or even just a time format. You know what I mean? Like just stick with time or stick with 10 outs. I'd be fine with that. I thought it was slower and it felt more choppy to me, right? Like it didn't feel like it. I don't know. It just felt really, really weird and just super choppy to me. The one thing I actually did like is after the 3 minutes in the first couple rounds, when they had those bonus balls, you could actually take pitches. You didn't have to swing at everything because you're not on a pitch count. That part I really liked, and that actually worked really, really heavily in Teoscar Hernandez's favor because he was taking pitches, slowing down, catching his breath, and that's kind of when he went on a tear. But
I was gonna say, sorry. I feel like a lot of people use that as like another timeout, and they really, for the most part, just took a break, took a breather, took a few pitches, and then kept on. But sorry, to go ahead now.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, I think that was smart of them. It obviously helped Teoscar Hernandez quite a bit, but yeah, it just felt choppy to me. It felt weird. It felt like it was a situation where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think let's go back to 10 outs, or let's go back to 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and just get big names in the home run derby. I think that's the biggest thing. Just get big names in the home run derby, and the rules won't matter because people are just going to want to see the biggest stars on the biggest stage. So I think that's what they should put more of a focus on for the future. If you need my help, MLB, you can employ me. That's fine. Just hit me up.
You should enter the contest. They're doing a contest where you can win like 100K. But what do you have any takeaways from the Derby? A couple things I noticed from watching was how about Pete Alonso? I thought that was a pretty big disappointment. He lives and breathes the home run derby, and if anyone gets hyped up before that, it's typically him. For him to hit what, like 11, 12 home runs,
dude,
it's pretty bad.
It felt like when you were watching Pete, it was like, okay, now he's going to start hitting bombs. Okay, now he's going to start hitting. Okay, now he's going to, and that just never happened. So that was interesting. Same thing with Adolis Garcia. I feel like he was a flop this year. Yeah,
and Gunnar Henderson too. He was hitting too many line drives, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, where I said there's a different kind of pressure in the home run derby where you saw maybe he faced that a little bit versus Bobby Witt Jr., who put on a freaking show for his first derby ever. But those were some of the big takeaways, and I think just in general too, like it was a pretty big surprise that Teoscar Hernandez actually won. I didn't think that was going to happen, and I think they showed the odds on TV, or maybe I saw it on Twitter or X, but I think he had like fifth or sixth best odds to win it. So anyone that put the mortgage and the rent and the car payment on Teoscar Hernandez, it was probably a pretty decent payout for him.
I should have done it just with Oscar alone. Do you want to talk about the All-Star game? To be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch any of it. I was just busy with business stuff going on. But if you want to talk a little bit about the All-Star game, Teoscar Hernandez's odds were plus 1,200. He had the third worst odds.
That's a payday. Yeah. before I jump into that too, I just want to apologize if I look like I am looking away and being unattentive. It's because I kind of am. I'm holding down the fort right now, so I got my dog Paul in here with me, and I'm just making sure he's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. So he's making his podcast debut, and he's just sitting on the ground and playing with his toy in here. But I just got to
boy.
make sure he's living his best life. So.
That
Um,
boy, Paul.
All-Star game. I watched all of it. Really was locked in through Garrett Crochet's outing, and I thought it was okay. There was really not a whole lot else on. If there was like if the Blackhawks were playing like the Ducks or the Bulls were playing the Hornets, I probably would have been watching those, and maybe been a little bit more focused on those. But all in all, I guess it was pretty good. From a grow the game, exciting standpoint. Shohei Ohtani I hate him, but he hit a 3-run nuke, so that was pretty cool to see. Um, American League won 5-3. There was a lot of action early, and then it went pretty quiet. AL was down 3-0, and then scored 5 unanswered. Jarren Duran of the Red Sox won MVP. He was a big reason why they even won the game. He had a go-ahead and eventual game-winning 2-run home run off Hunter Green from the Reds. So I believe David Fry got an RBI for the AL as
Yeah,
well.
good for him.
And
I did see
yeah,
that on the box score. Good for him.
yep. So that's pretty cool. Nice little story there. Guy that Cleveland acquired as a player to be named later in a trade. I forget exactly what the trade was. And then Juan Soto, he had an RBI or 2 RBI double and walked. So in terms of looking at guys who won MVP or were worthy of it, if it wasn't Duran, I feel like Soto was probably the only other guy worthy of getting it. Or if you want to look at pitchers, Mason Miller from the Athletics struck out 2. I think he was the only AL pitcher to strike out multiple guys. But I mean, all in all, good for the AL. Obviously, as fans of the American League, that's the team you pull for, I guess, or at least that's how I feel. So seeing the AL win was kind of cool. And I obviously just mentioned, Garrett Crochet. He was a guy for the White Sox representative who was in there. It was fun watching him pitch. I was curious how he was going to look given his situation involving in trade rumors and that being really out there, and how he was going to be presented by the commentators. And they did talk about him being a trade candidate, things like that. And if that was a showcase of his talents for some of these scouts, he did really well. He pitched a scoreless inning, just gave up 1 hit, had a strikeout. Was really commanding his stuff pretty well. I know that there's extra adrenaline pumping in these All-Star games, or at least that's what I've heard. I can't say I've never pitched in an All-Star game in my life, but that's what they say. So I was curious how he was going to look with that extra adrenaline and stuff, and knowing how hard he throws and how much break and movement he gets on his pitches. But he looked good. He was one of the better pitchers for the AL, I thought. And
Dude, that's hands down the biggest stage he's ever pitched on and will ever pitch on, pending a trade. Him going to a playoff contender. So that's one thing that I looked at the box score to see what what it looked like for Garrett Crochet, and he did what Garrett Crochet does, and he looked really nice. So I was happy to see that.
As far as I know, that's even the biggest stage he's pitched on, even in college, because I know he came out the COVID year. So. Tennessee was good that year, but there was no playoffs or anything like that. And I think he was hurt the year before. So
yeah,
if that's a little preview of what he can do on a big stage, I think any contending team or interested team is maybe even a little bit more interested.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of big stage, Ingrid Andress, maybe never sing the national anthem ever again, because that was painful to listen to. And you saw the players, they were trying not to laugh while it was going on, and she came out and made her own statement, and I give her credit, she's taking ownership of it. But oh man, when I was watching that live, I was like, is this just me, or is this just really bad?
I didn't even hear it live. I had it on, but I was not even remotely paying attention. And I saw some clips going around on social media after, and And yeah, that was bad, but you know what? If she does have a problem, at least she's addressing it and trying to do something about it. But
Yeah.
and if that's the case too, tough scene having that moment on repeat and for everyone to watch whenever they want. I know if I was in that
Yeah.
situation, I would be embarrassed as hell. But looks like she's maybe doing something about it. So good for her, and hope she gets the help she needs.
People were saying Fergie's thanking her personally because of her little rendition that went
Yeah,
pretty rough. But all right, Sean, I've got a baseball exercise for you if you're ready.
I'm always
You are
ready.
you are going to take the MLB playoff bracket as it stands today. If the playoffs started today, and you're
Okay.
going to predict your World Series winner. So I'll break it down for you by matchup, okay?
Okay.
So as of right now, first matchup we've got in the AL is the wild card matchup. We've got the 5th ranked Twins against the 4th ranked Yankees.
hmm
Who
Am
do
I
you pick?
picking who wins that?
Yep, live on every
Uh,
single matchup.
oh boy. New York Yankees will win that. And here, let me just throw this out there for all the people before we get into this, how sick my brother is for doing this exercise. It is July 17th. The trade deadline is July 30th. So this could look a hell of a lot different in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I just want you to look like shit if we're being honest. All right, next one we've got for AL wild card, Seattle Mariners, 3rd ranked, Boston Red Sox, 6th seed.
I got Seattle.
Okay. We're moving to the ALDS. We've got Cleveland Guardians against New York Yankees.
Ugh,
Guardians are the 1 seed.
I know. Guardians or Yankees?
Oh, he knows, guys. He knows.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Yankees.
All right. And then the other ALDS matchup, we've got the Mariners and the Orioles.
I wish this was the ALCS. I'm gonna go Baltimore.
Good luck on the ALCS then, because you've got the Yankees and the Orioles. Who's making it to the World Series?
Baltimore is.
Okay. We're riding on the Orioles, man. I like it. All right. We're moving to the NL. So we've got the 5th seed St. Louis Cardinals and the 4th seed Atlanta Braves. I think I know where you're going here.
St. Louis.
Yep. Next matchup, we've got the 3rd seed Brewers against the 6th seed Mets.
I'm going Brewers.
Wow, I thought you were going to take a flyer there. All right. For the NLDS, Philadelphia Phillies, the 1 seed against the 5 seed St. Louis Cardinals.
Phillies.
Yeah, that one was pretty easy. And then we've got Brewers and Dodgers, 3 seed and 2 seed.
Dodgers.
Dodgers. All right. So then for
Phillies.
the NLCS, we've got Phillies and Dodgers. You're taking Phillies?
Taking Philly.
All right. So then for the World Series, we've got the Baltimore Orioles against the Philadelphia Phillies. Who takes it and in how many games?
Hmm.
That's tough.
Philadelphia Phillies in 7.
I like it.
I want to pick Baltimore, but I think they're a little early in this process. They had a
Yep.
stinker last year, so I think they'll bounce back from that. But uh, it can go either way. I'm just gonna go Philly. Phillies do.
Okay. So we've got Phillies and Orioles World Series, 7 games.
That would be
Phillies are World
such a good
Series
World
champs.
Series.
That would be sick. So when the World Series is going on, actually, we should just say when the playoffs start. We're going to go back to episode 10 and listen to all Sean's predictions. All right, we're done with baseball. We've got a small but not really small story to talk about here. Copa America.
Yeah, you got some explaining to do with your stadium, bro.
Dude, what a mess, man. Like, for the people that may not have seen, I don't know how you missed this story, but if you did, there was a lengthy delay going on due to a massive amount of people who were entering the event without tickets. The game was at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. People were literally climbing walls. They were getting to their seats with other people already in them. Fans were climbing ladders. They were rushing the gates. People were climbing into the air conditioning vents to try and make their way through. Security supposedly wasn't checking for tickets or checking fans that entered the stadium. Honestly, Sean, maybe they don't have this problem because Miami fans don't go to football games. So maybe they just saw this as a
Clip
wow,
that.
we've
Clip it.
wow. I mean, I'm not hiding anything. Everybody knows it. Maybe they were just like, wow, we've never seen a crowd like this before, so we don't know what to do. But it was really screwed up. I mean, I saw the damage that was done, and it was just completely unnecessary. What are your thoughts? And maybe explain to me and other people what exactly is Copa America and why is it such a big deal?
In the words, for those who have seen Ted Lasso, in the words of Danny Rojas, football is life. Um, Copa America is a international tournament. I don't know exactly who qualifies. Qualification stems from like obviously group stages, things like that, but I don't know exactly how they get what countries qualify for this because there's obviously the European championships that are going on at the same time too. So it's not all countries or things like that, but like USA, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, teams like that are in
Croatia.
there. Yeah, it's international soccer and it's a tournament. So especially for those international teams, like that's their life. So they'll always support super, super loud, super, super strong. So that's why it was a pretty big deal. And not to get like political on this podcast because that's not what we're about. We're about sports. We're about fun, laughs, and just having a good time with the people. But we obviously saw everything that happened with Donald Trump. I think that was literally the day before, and then one day later we have something like this. So not exactly a good look for the old Americans there. But it just was crazy. I heard people had tickets and then they were going in, and people were already sitting there in their seats. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard security wasn't even checking people. Like they weren't even
Yeah.
really scanning tickets. They weren't even doing like security checks, which again, with what just happened, I think is pretty idiotic
Scary.
when you put everyone together in a stadium like that. But just kind of a wild and almost like crazy scene. The game was supposed to start at 7. Last I checked, it didn't even kick off till like 8:15. And
Wow.
a lot of people who cover soccer internationally, from what I read, were pounding the table for them to not even play the game that night. They were like, this is outrageous. Like, there's no need for this to happen. A lot of them were looking at it from the perspective of if this was the NFL, they probably wouldn't play this game. Um, Luckily, as far as I know, nothing major happened from there being an excess crowd there, because that would have been a whole nother story too. But it seemed like everything was okay. I guess if you're looking for a positive in the situation, the atmosphere was probably a little bit more rowdy.
Kind of crazy.
I know Artem Levshunov, the Blackhawks rookie they just drafted, he was there. So I was like,
That's
well,
probably why so many people went.
yeah, I was like, well, he's not hurt and he's posting, so good. I hope he
Yeah.
had fun. But just kind of crazy to think that it's 2024 and we can't even get a championship game for a big tournament and under control. Like I
Yeah,
don't know.
people have to act that way. Yeah, it was pretty messed up. I saw some of the after pictures just because, I mean, I follow a lot of Miami people, Hurricanes fans, are posting pictures of what the stadium looked like afterwards, and I don't know. There was an escalator that was just like the glass was shattered and the handles were off. It was just insane. So hopefully I mean, I know for one thing, Hard Rock Stadium learned from it. They'll make sure this never happens again. But I hope this doesn't happen anywhere else because it was just,
Yeah.
it's not cool.
I mean, they'll
Um,
probably just be able to cut the seats in half and Miami still probably won't fill it out,
I didn't freeze. I was intentionally staring you down.
huh? Can't wait for week one,
Um,
baby.
we're gonna dive into some summer league talk on that note. So summer league's been underway now for I think just over a week, maybe a couple weeks now. Um,
Yeah, it's been a
you've
few.
got some players. You've got some players that you think stood out, both good and bad.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been pretty entertaining for the most part. I've enjoyed watching the summer league. Obviously, it helps with the Bulls, having Matis. But do you want to dive into players that stuck out for you?
Yeah, I was just pulling up the standings too to kind of take a look at that as well. But
Oh, my
from up,
Grizzlies are on a tear, by the way, Sean.
they are, and so I also didn't realize this when we were talking about them at the California games. Those don't count. So
Yeah, I
so
noticed
they
that too.
so they're looking pretty damn good right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been watching a little bit outside of the Bulls, just kind of whenever I can, and I've typically tried to just follow draft picks because I'm interested in how they do, and so a lot of the guys I have that are standing out here are mostly recent draft picks. But one guy to me that stood out was Terrence Shannon Jr. for the Timberwolves, and I'm not too surprised by that because he's about as NBA ready as you can be going into the draft, and it's showing with how he's playing. He's averaging 17.7 points per game, and he's shooting 60% from the field.
Wow.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Another guy that was a little bit surprising to me is Cody Williams with the Jazz. First round draft pick out of Colorado, a lot of tools. People compared him to kind of like Patrick Williams coming into the draft. Just didn't really show a lot at Colorado, but here in the summer league, he's averaging 17.5 points per game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists per game. I think those numbers are great. He didn't even come close to averaging that at Colorado, I'm pretty sure, in terms of points per game. So seems like he's doing pretty well there. Jarris Walker for the Pacers. He's a second-year guy. He's looked really good for them. He's averaging 19 points per game and 6 rebounds per game. So those were some of the guys I thought were standing out pretty well. Enrique Freeman from Akron, local guy that I care about. He's holding his own. He looks pretty good for them too. He actually earned a spot in the starting rotation based off how he's played over the first couple games. So he's doing his thing. Proud of him. 3-3-0 for life, dog. Keep balling. Let's go. Now here comes the bad for me. And it's 2 names I have. Name number
We're gonna
one.
share the same names here, by the way.
Probably. Number one is Bronny James. Could not look worse.
Dude.
This whole situation, if you listen to our podcast before, kind of pissed me off, and he's just done absolutely nothing. I got his stats here for you, Kev. He's averaging 5 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and half an assist per game. He's shooting 21% from the field.
I could do that. Let me go out there and play.
I maybe could too. Now, it hasn't been all bad for Bronny. Okay. There is some good that has come from this, and I must give him credit because this probably means more to him. Apparently, they had a Call of Duty tournament at the Summer League, and he won it. So, good for him. He at least won something.
That's his highlight.
Now, the other guy I have that's bad here in this situation, oof, Alex Sarr for the Wizards. Now, before the draft, he was looked at as a guy that could go 1-1, and based off reports, seemed like a little bit of a diva. He didn't want to go to the Hawks, so he just rejected any workouts or meetings and things with him. Kind of shitty considering the fact that you only have one chance to go number one in your life. Why not just take it?
Yeah.
Anyways, it seems like he maybe did the Hawks a favor because this man is averaging 6.7 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game. It gets worse than Bronny's field goal percentage. He's averaging, or he's shooting 19% from the field. He just had a game the other night. I don't know the exact amount of misses he had. Okay, if you want to go over that stat line.
He went 0 for 15 from the field, 0 for 7 from 3, and 0 for 2 from the free throw line. This dude did not make a single point. Not a single point. And he played 30 minutes.
Yeah. Now I know obviously there's like you can't just take summer league stats and performances and run with it. It's not indicative of how players will actually be, but for guys who are going like 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 overall, you kind of hope, unless it's a big project, and when I say big project, I would mean like Cody Williams would fit that description, even though he was not even close to a top 5 pick. You kind of would hope that they would play really well against these guys, but
They should. I mean, the competition is going to be the easiest competition they have their entire career.
And for Alex Sarr, it's been the opposite. If I were a Wizards fan, I'd be like terrified at what this is going to look like come regular season and actual defenses and actual NBA rotation players. Like that's not a good start for him.
No, not at all. I shared those same two names, Bronny James. There was actually a quote from Jaylen Brown. Did you see that about Bronny James?
Yeah, he tweeted about it like the next day too, and was basically like, "Oh, this situation's amazing." Like, bro, everyone knows what you said.
No, he's just LeBron shot him a text real quick.
Your boy's been firing off the tweets, man. You got to tell him to chill. He's pissed off about USA. Now he's pissed off about Bronny.
I'll shoot him a text. Yeah, so for those of you that didn't hear it, he was leaning over during a summer league game and said that Bronny's not a pro. He can't play in the league. He's not a pro.
And he's not. So, like Jaylen Brown is 1,000% right there, but he got 100%. Caught.
And there's guys that look bad in the summer league. There's guys that will look bad in the summer league, but like this is just a whole different ball game, especially with how they treated the NBA draft. Like, nobody take Bronny. Well, bitch, at this rate, nobody wants Bronny because he's playing like shit. No. So yeah, I shared the same bad names as you. I had some different names that I thought were performing really well in the summer league so far. First one, you're not going to like at all. This one's going to sting. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off here. Tristan da Silva from Colorado. He's been playing really well for the Magic. He's averaging 18 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, and 3 assists per game, just putting in really quality minutes, just like he did at Colorado. So I like what I've seen from him. Yeah. Second guy you're also not going to like because it's a Miami guy, Jordan Miller. He is tearing it up in the summer league this year. And honestly, this could be good for him getting more playing time with Paul George no longer being on the Clippers. He's averaging 27 points a game, 5 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. His first summer league game, I think it was his first one, he dropped 36, 5, and 1 assist. So he's looked incredible this summer league. He might be the leading scorer of the entire summer league if he keeps
fake
this
stats.
Up. And then, yeah, of course it is. And then the last guy, Modest Buzelis. We know, as Bulls fans, we know what we've seen from him. He's averaging 20 points a game. I'll save all of the other metrics and stats and highlights for when we talk Bulls, but I really like what we've seen from him. A lot of people are saying Modest is performing how we would have hoped Pat Williams has performed or would have performed early on in his career, and I couldn't agree with that more. He's been aggressive. He's been a leader out there. He's not afraid to shoot, but we'll dive into what we've seen from him.
I got the Buzelis hat. That's what the B's for.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's looked awesome. As far as summer league goes, I think that's all I had on my agenda. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No. So we kind of talked about standings and stuff, and Kevin picked the the Grizzlies as the team he thought could win it all. They're sitting in a good spot here. They're at 2-0 with a plus 20 point differential. And the only reason I bring up point differential is that is how you qualify for the playoffs. So you got to have a good record, number one, and then tiebreakers point differential. So Grizzlies being undefeated and having, quick look here, best point differential in the summer league as of right now. I don't know when these stats are updated, but this is what I have off NBA.com. They're
playing with the Magic right now. That's a 1-point game. End of the third, they're up by 1. But
Magic are another team that looks really good too. Just as a little added bonus to y'all. Jet, what's his last name?
Holmgren?
No, Jet Howard. I think Jet Howard.
Yeah.
He's been playing well too. Yeah. So Magic look good as well. And then my beloved Utah Jazz are sitting at 2-1, and they're minus 0.3. Is there a last game in this? Because it should be.
And Zach Edey hasn't been playing lately for the Grizzlies.
No, see, that's pissing me off. I'm like, you picked him because of Zach Edey. He's not even playing, and they're still playing well. This is rigged.
That was not because of Zach Edey.
This is fake summer league.
100% not because of Zach Edey. I want to put that on record, but
no, you got a Zach Edey shrine at home. You love Zach Edey.
Oh, I have yet to see that then.
Oscar.
Yeah, summer league's been fun. I've enjoyed watching it. It helps when you've got a a player that you drafted 11th overall that seems like he could be the steal of the draft, or honestly the best pick of the draft if Alex Sarr keeps up his pace.
Yeah, I think that
So
as of right now, I think we can agree that Matis Buzelis looks like the best number 11 pick from this draft.
yeah, 100%, and maybe the best number 11 pick the Bulls have ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That might be bold, but all right, cool. Well, let's start to dive into some Chicago stories then. We ran a little late for national stories, but we had a lot of good stuff to cover. So we're jumping into some Chicago-related sports talk now. We are going to start with White Sox. They just had the MLB draft. Man, did they throw me for a curveball, no pun intended. I'm sure you felt the same way with who they took at was it 5 overall? 5 overall. Who they took at 5 overall, taking Hagen Smith from Arkansas. There's no denying his tools are there. There's no denying he dominated as a pitcher in college. There's no denying the fact that he could be a very, very successful pitcher in the MLB. I mean, when he pitched against Travis Bazzana, the first overall pick, Travis went 0 for 3 against him, and I think it's 3 strikeouts too.
It was.
So, everything's there. When you take a look at him as a player, it makes a lot of sense why he would get drafted that high. But for the White Sox to take him when they need hitters desperately was a little confusing to me. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, before I get into how I feel about it, I also want to echo the fact that this has nothing to do with Hagen Smith as a player. I think Hagen Smith will be a phenomenal starting pitcher in the MLB, and I think the White Sox will develop him really, really well. It's what they do. So, yeah, I was very shocked when they made that pick and it was a left-handed starting pitcher. But if there's one thing the White Sox do right, they do develop left-handed starters really well. You take a look at guys they've had recently: Chris Sale from the 2010 draft, Carlos Rodon from the 2014 draft, Garrett Crochet from the 2020 draft, and Noah Schultz from the 2022 draft. So the track record is clearly there. Hagen Smith will probably follow that track record and be very, very successful. He's probably going to go through the minors really quickly. And I wouldn't even be shocked if he's pitching for the White Sox next year at the major league level. Now, for a team like the White Sox, you did bring up a good point where they needed bats. They do. They really needed to add some bats to the system. I really wish they would have done that at 5. Now, I'm not even, as a Florida fan, I'm not even saying that means they should have taken Caglione. They should have taken a bat. I would have loved to see him take a bat at 5. That was my preference. Now you kind of
Weatherholt was there, Connor Griffin was there. There's
Yep.
3 guys you could have easily taken there.
Braden Montgomery, who they supposedly liked a little bit too, he was there.
Yeah.
So this is why it makes me nervous. Not about what Hagen Smith will be. I'm actually pretty confident he will be a very good major league player.
Oh yeah.
And having a left-handed starting pitcher that's dominant, that will help any organization. That's great. For a team like the White Sox that doesn't spend money, they struggle with developing prospects. We are seeing a lot of that with a lot of the bats they've had in their system lately, minus like Luis Robert. I wish they would have taken a little bit more of a chance here and taken a bat. I don't think a pitcher was the best use of resources for a team that doesn't spend money like they should and doesn't place an emphasis on certain areas of the roster when they need to. So that makes me a little nervous about it. Oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought here. I was really surprised that was the pick. They even followed it up with another left-handed pitcher not long after him. It was either their second or their third pick. And now we have most of our best prospects are pitchers. Currently, one of our best player, yeah, we'll say that. Garrett Crochet is the best player on the White Sox right now. He's a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
Our top pitching prospect, Noah Schultz, left-handed pitcher. Kai Busch, prospect who's flying through the minors, is in Charlotte, one of the better prospects in the organization. He's a left-handed pitcher. So what do? You add another left-handed pitcher. I don't see that as a fit at all. And the thing that makes me the most nervous about this, Kevin, is this is probably just a bridge to we're trading Garrett Crochet, right? Like that writing's on the wall. Now, number one, this is least likely of the scenario. But number one, what if Garrett Crochet turns around and he's like, you know what, I would actually like to stick around with the White Sox. Why don't we work something out?
I'll even take a hometown discount type of thing. Yeah.
That kind of fucking sucks at that point because I would love to keep him around. Like if that opportunity presents itself, you pay him and you keep him. He's a stud. And here's the biggest concern I have that makes me really nervous about this pick is now with the whole Crochet thing going around, people obviously know the White Sox are going to seek bats. They know that the White Sox aren't going to extend Garrett Crochet. I think and I could be crazy for thinking this, or maybe I'm just being pessimistic. I could be completely wrong. I think the White Sox lost a lot of leverage in these Garrett Crochet trade talks because some team will be like, you need these bats. We're not going to give them to you. Lower your price. And then maybe, if they're looking at, we want this guy and this guy, we're only going to give you this guy. Like, I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot here a little bit by just playing into the future before it happens.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the only way I can reason with this is really one scenario, right? So like let's look down the road. Let's look like 3 years down the road right now, okay? And a lot of these pitchers that actually not even 3 years. Let's look 2 years down the road. These pitchers that we've taken the last couple of years, some of them will already be in the majors, but like the guy from IMG that we took, I think 68th overall. Let's say he turns into a really nice piece. He's in AAA, absolutely killing it in AAA. And the White Sox say, you know what? Instead of trying to sign a player outright, we're going to trade for the centerpiece of our infield or our outfield. And let's look at a guy like, I don't know, I'm just throwing a name out there, Kyle Tucker or Corbin Carroll, right? They pair a couple of these guys to get your leader on the field who isn't your starting pitcher or part of your rotation. That I could see making sense. But to play devil's advocate, those guys are still going to get paid a shit ton of money, and the Sox are known for not paying players. So can they maybe reason with it if another team pays them and then they just take on the last 3 years of that player's contract? I don't know. I'm trying to come up with ways to where I'm like, oh yeah, this actually makes a ton of sense for the White Sox. And like Sean said, this is absolutely nothing personal against Hagen Smith. He's going to be a phenomenal pitcher.
I'm personally excited to watch him. Like he's going to be really, really good.
Yeah. And honestly, to talk about some other players, like they took Caleb Bonner. He was MLB Pipeline's 71st overall prospect. He's a prep shortstop from Michigan. He was the 43rd pick, and then Blake Larson is the IMG guy that I was talking about. So he was just over top 100 prospect. He's a left-hand pitcher from IMG. He went 68th overall. So the draft overall, it felt interesting. They took a guy later on. I think it was their very last pick. He's committed to Florida State.
He's gone. He's going to Florida State. He already announced that.
Did he? Okay, I was going to say, I think that there's less than a 1% chance he actually gets paid. We'd have to skip out on a lot of guys to pay him, but
that was my thing. So what Kevin's talking about, I forget this. I'm going to look up this guy's name just because it's only right. It's only fair to do right by our former future White Sox here.
Miles Bailey.
So Florida State commit. They took him with the last pick in the draft, and our scouting director, Mike Shirley, came out and said we took him as a backup plan. He's one of the most exciting guys in our class, but we took him as a backup plan, and we'll only try to sign him if other guys don't work out. It's like, dude, if you're talking him up as one of the most exciting players in your draft class, try to sign him maybe. I don't know. Don't say, oh, he's just a backup plan. We'll get around to it if we can't work something else out with the other guys. Someone's got to be unhappy in that situation. Sorry, but if you think that Bailey has a better future, just go freaking sign him. Just because you took player A in round 11 and you said you were going to sign him for X amount of dollars, or maybe you didn't even exchange dollars, but you said you're interested in signing him. it's professional sports are a cutthroat business. I'm sorry, but people get lied to all the time. So what's one more if you're trying to do something that's better for your organization? So that was kind of seeing some of those quotes. I was just kind of like, that's interesting. I don't know if I really agree with that thought process, but I'm obviously not sitting in that chair. So
Not to mention they already took a bunch of outfielders, right? They took Cole McConnell, they took Nathan Archer, they took T.J. McCants, took Casey Saki, I think is how you pronounce his last name, Nick McLean from
yeah,
Arizona State, Miles Bailey. I mean, he's a first baseman, but like they already took a lot of position players that you could either heavily underslot these guys to pay Miles Bailey, or just take Miles Bailey a lot earlier in the draft. You know what I mean? Like at least make the offer tempting to him.
yeah. Supposedly they got a lot of money tied up early on in the draft, which surprised me a little bit. But
Yeah, I'm curious about the Nick McLean pick. I think there's some intrigue there. The outfielder from Arizona State.
his family he comes from a baseball family, so if anything,
Yeah.
you're betting on bloodlines there. His brother Matt McLean's a really really highly touted prospect for the Reds.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one that I look at and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Sam Antonacci, he's another one from Coastal Carolina, infielder, 6 foot, 193 pounds. Actually, fun fact, he played at Heartland Community College, which was the community college attached to Illinois State before he went to Coastal Carolina. So he's a middle of nowhere Illinois guy. But yeah, I mean, that's as far as the draft goes, there's so much we can dive into here, and we can keep talking about it in future episodes because the season's not going to really have too much going on from here on out.
I got a surprise exercise for you, pal.
Let's hear it. Fire.
All right, just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, I got to pull up something.
Wow. You weren't even ready for it.
Well, I just thought of it. I was like, you
Okay.
can't put me on the spot without me putting you on the spot. All right, so I'm going to list off the White Sox top 5 prospects according to MLB.com. You put Hagen Smith in where you think he should go. Number 1, Colson Montgomery. Number 2, Noah Schultz. Number 3, Drew Thorpe. Number 4, Edgar Quero. And number 5, Brian Ramos. Where are you putting Hagen Smith?
Who's 3 and 4?
3 is Thorpe, 4 is Quero.
I think I'm putting him at 2.
Is above Schultz or above Montgomery? Or no, sorry,
So
above Schultz.
after Schultz, above Thorpe.
So that would be
Thorpe
3.
would drop. So Thorpe would drop down to. Okay,
4.
so it goes. Colson,
So your order would be Colson Montgomery,
Schultz.
Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
feel good about that.
That's where I would put him too.
Yeah.
And
Nice
if that's
exercise, Sean.
well, if that's where I would put him, then you know you're on the right path because I am so smart and so much better than everyone at prospect rankings. That's my thing.
Anyways, we're gonna talk about some more White Sox talk. Martin Maldonado, R.I.P. My guy. You were designated for assignment today, July 17th. Just as your bat was starting to get hot too, which is kind of interesting.
I wonder if
but
they're doing him a favor there.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I think this calls for an Edgar Quero appearance soon. I think he gets called up.
I don't know.
I would say probably sometime in the next couple weeks. I think they'll just kind of
He just
float
got
another
to
catcher.
AAA.
Yeah, but like, what do they have to lose, dude? You know what I mean? Like, their season's
More
already
games.
shit.
They're not mathematically eliminated. We still got hope.
We lost 70
We're only
games
32
before.
games out in the AL Central. There's still
Yeah,
a whole
right.
second half, man.
There you go, and that's why Edgar Quero should get called up soon. I think within a couple weeks. I think give him some more time in AAA, but within a couple weeks.
So the reason I kind of I don't know if I agree with that right now, at least, is he's not on the 40-man roster versus they have like Chucky Robinson on the 40-man roster where they could just be like, here, Chucky, play for a month before we call up Quero in September.
Well, I think that's what they're gonna do. You know, like obviously there's Corey Lee. You know, he's going to get quite a bit of playing time now, but
Yeah.
I think that they're just going to use gap fillers now for the meantime, and then Carroll will get called up. Yeah, if it's a month, that's fine too, but I think it'll be soon.
Yeah, and not to mention too, like we'll probably have some trades, so there's going to be quite a bit of movement going on, and we'll get into it a little bit later. But they've obviously been like making moves to kind of prepare for this stuff. So
Hey, dude, maybe we'll get a top prospect for the guy we just signed today, Nick Senzel. Maybe we'll get like a top one or two prospect from a team because Nick Senzel is a big signing for the White Sox.
He back in the day, he was like a top 15 prospect, I think.
Yeah, dude, he was highly touted, but
Yeah,
he just signed today
major league
with the White
deal.
Sox. Yeah, major league deal. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and also they sent Lenine Sosa to Charlotte when he's swinging it pretty well too.
Yeah, I'm kind of over him. I think I don't know. I think we've
I'm
seen
I'm
what he
with
gives
you.
me.
He just really wasn't like swinging it bad, so I was kind of surprised.
Yeah,
But also too, like we probably do have Yohan Moncada getting activated soon, so I'm sure
yeah.
Sosa probably would have been the odd man out there. And with Senzel, he has been bad for his career. He was a former, let me see, I got it here. He was taken second overall in the 2016 MLB draft out of Tennessee, and injuries hurt him a lot early on in his career, but whenever he was able to play, he just hasn't really put it together. I think the White Sox did something like this because they are anticipating some trades, some movements. Senzel is listed as a third baseman when they signed him. He also can play outfield, so you're looking at a little bit more defensive versatility with a Senzel as opposed to a Lenine Sosa. I think that probably factored into it because whenever Moncada does get activated, I'm guessing it's going to be fairly soon after the All-Star break concludes. You don't have to do anything with Senzel. You can just use him as a backup outfielder, assuming that Tommy Pham gets traded, which he probably will. So
Yeah.
there's your fill-in guy, unless you get like an MLB ready guy too, which I don't know. I don't think they will, but
Dude,
you
he's
know,
already
it's
29 too. I didn't know he was already 29. And FYI, according to MLB.com, his nickname is Lil Sens.
nice. I mean, he's a flyer. Like he got cut by the Nationals earlier this year, and if the Nationals, I mean, they're better than the White Sox, but by how much, right? If they're cutting you, probably a good chance you aren't going to amount to much. But I mean, hey, why not? Maybe they find lightning in a bottle here. I'm not. I'm gonna say I don't think they do, but it certainly doesn't hurt to try. So it's a
Yeah.
different name, different face. I'll be excited to watch him. Hopefully, you can do a little something.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, it's to kill time until Yoan comes back. But that's it for the White Sox. We have a decent amount to talk about with Bulls Summer League going on. I personally already talked about Modest Buzelis. Do you want to dive into what you noticed from him?
Yeah, so I've been able to watch a decent amount of him. I haven't been able to sit down and watch a full Bulls game, unfortunately, but he's been really, really exciting. Not even just for the Bulls, but as for Summer League as a whole. I feel like he's
Yeah.
been one of the top players, which is awesome. Brings good energy. So I got some stats here for everybody. I'll reel them off here. So in his first game, he put up 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Game two, 28 points, led all scorers, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. And then game three, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. So he's averaging 20.3 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, just under a steal and a half per game, 2 blocks per game. Only downside slash knock I have on him is shooting percentage, 38.2% from the field. Obviously,
Okay.
he's fresh into the summer league and took an unorthodox route to get there, where he played with the G League, was hurt for a decent amount of time last year too. So it's going to be expected for him to have some shooting struggles, but you touched on a lot of things that that I noticed and I thought he was doing well. Was number one, the energy he brings is exciting. Um, the confidence he has in himself is really, really, really good to see in a young player. He's not afraid.
Swagger.
He's not afraid to attack the rim. He's not afraid to try to put someone on skates. And he just is really confident in himself and his abilities, and you can see that in the way he plays. Um, Another thing that I like that I've noticed from him is he's a shit talker, man.
Oh yeah.
He'll get in your face and he'll let you know that he's going to score on you. And I think we need that kind of edge. I don't think it'll be as apparent when he gets to the NBA and starts playing with NBA guys, because I mean, he's a skinny guy too. Like he's going to get knocked around and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
He'll dial it back a little bit.
but it's good to see him have that little aspect to his game. He's got that dog in him. And he's looking like he could potentially be a steal. Obviously, we got a long way to go, and he's still got to go play in the actual NBA and against tougher competition. But all things considered, with what he's doing right now, I don't think you could ask for him to do much more as a Bulls fan.
No, I have one little knack with him, which I'll bring up in a second. But you know how Angel Reese brings that swagger and that tenacity to the team? I think he
Oh
does the
boy, do I!
exact same thing. I think he does that exact same thing for the Bulls in the summer league right now, and I love it. I'm all here for it, especially because he is a skinny guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's not jacked by any means, but yeah, he brings a fun little swagger to the game. The one knack I have with him is shot selection.
Hmm.
I feel like he's not afraid to put shots up, but sometimes that's not a good thing. He's put up a couple threes in some games that I've watched where I'm like, is that really the best option? There's still 15 seconds left on the shot clock. You're a slasher. Go take it to the rim, throw down a dunk, or get an and one. You know, that's really the only thing that I have with him where I notice and I'm like, okay, maybe that's something to work on going into the season. But at the same time, I mean, he is the biggest name on the roster, so naturally he's going to put up a high volume
Yeah,
of shots. So I get it.
I
Um,
I would like to maybe, and a lot of this too is the summer league happens very fast. Obviously, after these guys get drafted, he's playing with a lot of guys he might not ever play with again. So
yeah,
chemistry, on court stuff, a little difficult. A lot of the summer league is I'm gonna get mine mentality. Guys are playing for
yeah,
roster spots, things like that. But I would maybe like to see him show off his ability to create for teammates, get them open looks, things like that. But I
yeah.
think once he gets to the league and starts playing with the Patrick Williams and the Kobe White and possibly the Zach Levine and even Vooch and guys that have been there, been doing it for a long time. I said just been there and been doing it for a long time. I did not say anything else. Um, I think he'll maybe be a little bit more inclined to feed them and get that good working on court relationship going together.
I think so too. It's been really fun to watch him. I mean, he's a human highlight reel right now in the summer league, and of course that'll dial down when he's playing actual pros in the NBA and gets a taste for what the real NBA is like. But
Yeah.
there's no doubt he's still going to be exciting. He's still going to be fun to watch. So I'll just be curious how much playing time he gets come regular season.
I mean, if they're dedicated to tearing this thing down like they say they are, he should get a lot of minutes. But his problem is, I'm guessing they'll probably put him around. Yeah, where are they going to line him up? Probably, I would guess three or four, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm leaning to four, but I could see him playing the three. He's just got guys in front of him right now. But
I think it depends on who we're playing that night too,
yeah,
and what their roster looks like. You know what I
because
mean?
let's
I
see, we
think
got
that's
Kobe, we got Zach. Kobe and Zach, three. So yeah, that's your one and your two. Who's your three? We lost DeRozan.
well,
Patrick
we got
Will.
we got Josh Giddey too. So Zach's probably your three
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
because
you're
it's
you're
going to be
exactly
Giddey,
right.
it's going to be Kobe at
I
two.
completely forgot about Giddy. So yeah, Giddy
Yeah,
will probably line up at the one, Kobe the two, Zach the three, Patrick Williams the four, Vooch the five. So you're looking at Patrick Williams and or Levine blocking him. Two guys that are probably going to get a lot of minutes. Unfortunately, if Zach's still with the Bulls, he's got to build up that value. Everyone knows where that's going eventually, so he'll play a
yeah,
lot. And Patrick Williams, it's his time to shine now, so he'll be playing a lot too. So he's gonna have to earn his minutes.
just bench Patrick Williams.
I'll tell you
Anyways,
what though, two other guys that I've been impressed with for the Bulls Summer League is Julian Phillips and Adam
yeah,
Sanogo. Phillips, I didn't really know what to expect with him going into it, but he looks like he could be a decent role player next year. I would expect him to be up with the team all year long, and kind of getting a little bit excited to watch him actually. And my boy Sanogo opened up summer league with a 17 point, 12 rebound double double, and then the next game, I don't remember how many points he had. I want to say it was 14. He had another double double. 14 points and 10 fouls. It still counts, Kevin.
Dude, I was hoping we would bring this up
How
because
can
then
I
I was
not?
like, oh man, a double with 10 fouls. That's
That's the
something you're
limit.
never
That's
gonna
a
see
summer
again.
league limit. 10 fouls. I was like, my boy.
Oh, that's so sick. Also, Grizzlies won again, so they're 3-0. They beat the Magic by 6.
They're
Yeah,
probably locked in.
there's definitely some guys where I think it's their turn to not prove themselves, because I don't think it's fair to say that to Julian Phillips. I don't think it's fair to say that to Dalen Terry. I think they just need
yeah.
to get minutes and see what kind of pro they could become, because both of those guys just haven't really played a lot. Sonogo, I feel like you can put him in the NBA right now and he'd be fairly productive. So we'll see what the roster ends up shaping up like. I think that they've got quite a few flyers to take this year, which will be fun. I mean, depending on how quickly Zach gets traded, that could be a fun, just like, watching the younger guys go out there and play. Or if Zach doesn't get traded, it might be painful for the first half of the year. So time will tell. As far as Bears news, just as of, well, actually, it was broken down into 2 days.
Do it with me.
Yesterday,
Do it with me.
yesterday, for those of you who are just listening, we just did the Caleb Williams Bear Claw. Yesterday, July 16th, Rome Odunze signed his contract with the Bears. So that is official. We were waiting on that for quite a while. I don't think too many people were getting nervous about it yet, but I think we were starting to reach the territory of like getting impatient. And then today, July 17th, Caleb Williams finally signed his rookie deal. There were some conflicting reports. Me and Sean were going back and forth about it. Is it legit? Who do we trust? He's telling me to stop falling for fake tweets. But Caleb Williams officially did sign his contract today. The Bears tweeted it out themselves, so it is legit. So now we can finally turn that page, focus on getting ready for the Hall of Fame game in preseason, and then eventually the season. So
Hard Knocks too, baby.
Yeah, Hard Knocks. So I'm excited. Not really a whole lot to report there, other than just the fact that they signed, but it's good news either way. So
yeah, good to get those guys wrapped up and done, and comes at a Paul's excited.
Paul likes it.
He's excited, yeah. And it comes at a good time because training camp starts. It's Wednesday night we're recording this. I believe the first full practice for everyone is Friday or Saturday. So that would have been a tough situation given the whole media nonsense that happened before of Caleb doesn't want to play in Chicago. He won't sign with the Bears if they had to start training camp and he hadn't signed his contract. So glad they got that done. Sounds like, it was maybe a little bit of inexperience on Caleb Williams' side with his team he hired. He didn't hire a direct an NFL agent. He hired just a lawyer, and seemed like they maybe got crossed up on some details, but also seemed like Caleb was looking out for his best interests too, and doing what he thought, or suggesting what he thought was best for himself, and asking for some things that are a little bit out of the norm from rookie contracts and things that players typically see. So kind of expected it to go like that a little bit with just how high profile of a prospect Caleb Williams is, and everything that comes with him, in terms of coverage and demands and things like that. But all things considered, they got it done, and it really wasn't much of a headache, minus, like you were saying, people saying it was done yesterday, but it wasn't really done until today. And, all in all, they're signed. They're Chicago Bears, and we're going to get to see them take the field together this weekend. So can't wait.
Yeah. And let's be honest. I mean, Caleb Williams, a lot of what he does is out of the ordinary for both college and the pros. And that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, if it works out for him, great. If it doesn't, he's going to learn a lesson and maybe adapt in the future. But it worked out. Everybody's happy. We've got our guys signed. We're ready to roll. So,
yes, sir.
Diving into some Blackhawks talk, again, not a whole lot to go into here. Connor Bedard was announced as one of the new faces of Gatorade Canada with a pretty cool video that came out. I heard about this. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I heard the video was pretty sweet. Did you watch it on your end?
Yeah, it's only like 30, 40 seconds, so it's not very long. And it's just, I don't know, it's different. It's kind of cool. And I feel like it's something worth mentioning because I feel like this is just going to be the kind of the norm for him now. As he progresses through his NHL career, he's going to start getting a lot more bigger and bigger endorsements and sponsorship deals and things like that. So for him to be one of the new faces of Gatorade Canada, obviously hockey's big in Canada, so pretty cool to see them both parties take on that opportunity. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
quick little video, not a whole lot to it, but still pretty cool. So
I've got it teed up here to watch after we're done with this. I'll watch it. So, yeah, it's pretty short. It's like 30 seconds long, but
rumor has
um,
it might be the best 30 seconds of your life.
I don't know about that. I've seen some pretty cool 30-second things in my life. Um, all right. Well, last thing to talk about, and this is right up your wheelhouse. We've got Chicago Sky, Angel Reese.
It's
Her
over.
double streak, yeah, her double streak did come to an end. I'll let you dive a little bit into more details about how that happened, what you noticed out of that, and what you think, if she's capable of putting another one together.
Yeah, I canceled my WNBA subscription when the streak ended. I said it's not worth watching this anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I would never cancel that. I'm a lifelong subscriber now. Moving forward. And yeah, so her double streak it came to an end at 15. So she rewrote history for the WNBA. So that is her record. She owns that. So, obviously it was going to come to an end at some point. If it didn't, she would probably be the best basketball player ever. Um, but the New York Liberty, she did get them for a double a couple days prior to the night that it ended. But they must have been watching the tape and seen her going for some points late in the game to help her case, and they triple teamed her at the end of the game when she just needed like one or two more points, and they triple teamed her so she couldn't get it. Fair game. That's if you're gonna miss, she missed a bunch of shots.
Savage.
She missed a bunch of shots that night too. So
Yeah. She
um,
was like 3 of 15 or
yeah,
something.
so if you're gonna struggle like that, but then still try to go for it at the end of regulation, totally fair game for teams to throw that at you. So they got her, and her streak's over. But you know what? She came back the next night and had another double double, and it was against the Las Vegas Aces, which are the best team in the WNBA, and that's a pretty good accomplishment for her to be able to get a double double against them. And yeah, so she bounced back pretty quickly, and it's the start of a new streak, baby. So one down, and now we're gonna break 15. So
Yeah.
15 more to go to get to 16.
Also, the Sky made a trade. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, they did. They made a pretty big one. So they traded Marina Mabre to the Connecticut Sun, and the full trade is the Sky traded Mabre it's Mabry, and a 2025 second round pick to the Sun for Mariah Jefferson, Rachel Bonham, and then they got a 2025 first round pick and a 2026 first round pick, or first round pick as well. The 2026 first round pick is a pick swap with the Sun. So yeah, pretty big deal getting two first rounders and two players. Mabry was
Yeah.
really good for the Sky. Her tenure here was pretty quick, but yeah, so just adding more draft capital, which is good. But for those who might not be aware of how teams are doing in the WNBA, don't expect the Sun pick to be anything high. They're one of the better teams in the WNBA. They always make deep playoff runs, so that'll be at the end of the first round. Very, very
Yeah.
likely.
They're 18-6. So Marina Mabry, she's averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists per game. So can score quite a bit, but also do everything. She was actually a second round pick, number 19 overall. So good for her for making a career out of it. The two ladies that they got in return, Rachel Banham, she's averaging 4 points a game. She's got 8 years of experience in the league. She was actually the 4th overall pick in 2016. And then Mariah Jefferson was the 2nd overall pick in 2016. She's got 7 years of experience, and she averages 2 points a game. So it seems like a couple of players there that, maybe struggled to put it together once they got drafted into the WNBA. But who knows? I mean, we've seen late resurgences before from plenty of other players. I mean, i.e. Derek White. So maybe these ladies turn things around when they come to the Sky, and at the very least, we got a first round pick and a potential swap out of it too. So
Yeah,
could be good for the Sky. I mean, just keep building. You know what I mean? Just keep
yeah,
putting together brick after brick. I think this is more of a long term play than anything else.
yeah, and I believe for the 2025 draft, the Sky have it set up to where Dallas can swap with them if they want. So this gives this guy a little bit more insurance in the first round. I think as it stands, Dallas currently has a worse record than the Sky, so they obviously wouldn't swap that pick. But if that does change, there is that opportunity. So just kind of good for the Sky to be able to get some value back in the first round, just in case they do find themselves in a situation where they get a worse pick than they were supposed to.
Yeah, Dallas is 5-19. The Sky are 10-14. So yeah,
Yeah.
they've got a little ways to go. It's like a 5-game difference in standings. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think it's a smart move for them to continue to get more picks, build those blocks for the future, because you've already got two really nice young pieces. So that just about wraps up everything, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. This week was a little bit of a longer episode, so thanks for hanging out for a little over an hour now. I'm sure we'll have plenty more next week with summer league still going on. Baseball will be
Back on Friday.
they're coming back on Friday, so we will bring the heat next week. Until then, you guys take care. Have a good weekend. We'll talk soon. See ya.